Once upon a time, in a creaky old house filled with cobwebs and dusty furniture, lived a little ghost named Boo. Now, you might think that being a ghost is all about spooky fun, floating through walls and saying boo to give people a little fright. And for most ghosts, you'd be right. But Boo was a little different. You see, Boo was a ghost who was afraid of the dark. Isn't that the silliest thing you've ever heard? A ghost, a creature of the night, being scared of shadows. Whenever the sun would set and the moonbeams would cast long, dancing shapes across the floor, Boo would tremble in his translucent sheet. He'd hide behind the curtains or under the dusty grand piano, his little ghostly heart thumping like a drum. He saw monsters in every corner, creepy crawlies in every shadow. The other ghosts would giggle. "A ghost scared of the dark," they'd whisper. How utterly absurd. This, of course, only made poor Boo feel even more alone and scared. One particularly dark and stormy night, the wind howled outside, rattling the window panes. A big, scary shadow stretched across the hallway, looking just like a giant clawed monster. Boo let out a tiny squeak and zipped into a dusty old chest in the attic. He squeezed his eyes shut, wishing he could just disappear. But then, he heard a soft, friendly voice. "Hello? Is anyone in there?" Slowly, Boo peeked out. Standing there wasn't a scary monster at all. It was a vampire named Vlad, who had a friendly smile and surprisingly unscary fangs. "I heard a squeak," Vlad said. "Are you all right?" "My name's Vlad." Boo, still trembling, introduced himself. He explained his rather embarrassing secret. He was a ghost, and he was terrified of the dark. Vlad didn't laugh. Instead, he nodded thoughtfully. "I understand," he said. "Sometimes my own cape casts a shadow that looks like a giant bat, and it gives me a start. The dark can play tricks on your eyes." Just then, a furry werewolf named Wendy padded into the attic. "What's all the chatter up here?" she woofed softly. Wendy was big and fluffy, with kind, gentle eyes. Soon, a mummy named Mo, wrapped in ancient but surprisingly clean bandages, shuffled in too. When they heard about Boo's fear, they didn't make fun of him. Instead, they decided to help. This was the beginning of a grand adventure, an adventure to help Boo conquer his fear. They became the Brave Brigade, and their mission was to show Boo that the night wasn't something to be afraid of. Their first idea was a game of shadow puppets. Vlad used his cape to make a funny-looking rabbit. Wendy wiggled her ears to make a dancing butterfly on the wall. Mo, using his bandages, created a silly-looking worm that wiggled across the ceiling. Boo watched, nervously at first, but then he started to giggle. The scary shadows were gone, replaced by funny animals and silly shapes. They were just shadows, after all. He even tried making one himself, a little blob-like shape that they all agreed looked like a friendly jellyfish. Next, they decided to have a glow-in-the-dark treasure hunt. They took special paint, the kind that glows all on its own after you shine a light on it, and they painted little arrows and stars all around the house. When they turned off the lights, the house was filled with a beautiful, soft green glow. It wasn't dark and scary anymore. It was magical. They followed the glowing trail, finding little treats and toys hidden along the way. Boo was so busy having fun and looking for the next glowing star that he completely forgot to be scared of the dark corners. But their biggest and best idea was the Monster Mash dance party. They found an old record player and put on some upbeat, jazzy music. Vlad, Wendy, and Mo started dancing around, their shadows twirling and leaping with them. At first, Boo just watched from the side. The dancing shadows still looked a little big and spooky. Wendy noticed. She patted over and held out a furry paw. "Come on, Boo," she said with a grin. "The shadows are just dancing with us. They're our dance partners." Boo hesitated, but then he took Wendy's paw. He started to sway, then to twirl. He floated and bopped to the music, and he saw his own shadow, and Wendy's, and Vlad's, and Mo's, all boogieing down together on the wall. They weren't scary monsters. They were just their groovy reflections. He laughed, a real hearty ghost laugh that echoed through the old house. As the night went on, Boo realized something important. He wasn't scared anymore. The darkness was still there. The shadows were still long, but they didn't hold any power over him. Why? Because he wasn't alone. He had his friends. Friendship was the light that chased away the scary parts of the dark. It filled the empty spaces with laughter and fun. From that day on, Boo was no longer the ghost who was afraid of the dark. He was Boo, the bravest ghost in the house. He still saw shadows, of course, but now when he saw a long, spooky shape, he'd just imagine it was Vlad's cape making a funny rabbit. He'd see a dark corner and remember the magical glow of their treasure hunt. He even started playing his own games with the shadows, seeing how many different animals he could make on the wall. He learned that everyone is afraid of something. For Vlad, it was loud noises. For Wendy, it was vacuum cleaners. And for Mo, it was the fear of his bandages unraveling at an awkward moment. Sharing their fears made them all feel stronger. They knew that no matter what scared them, they would face it together. And so, the story of Boo became a legend in the creaky old house. It is a story about a little ghost who learned that the greatest power in the world is not being fearless, but having friends who will stand with you in the dark, help you find your own light, and maybe even have a little shadow dance party along the way. It shows us that sometimes, all you need to conquer your fears is a little bit of courage and a whole lot of friendship. So next time you feel scared of a shadow in your room, just remember Boo. Maybe that shadow just wants to dance. Thanks for listening to our story today. I hope you loved Boo's adventure as much as we did. It's a great reminder that with good friends, we can overcome anything. If you enjoyed this tale, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more fun stories. See you next time.